Welcome to the Dietitian Side Hustle podcast. My name is Katie Dodd, and I'm a nutrition entrepreneur. I spent 7 years as a side hustler before diving into entrepreneurship full time. Before making the leap, I was bringing in 6 figures through my side hustle. If I can do it, you can too. This podcast is for dietitians, interns, and students who want to be inspired to start or perfect the side hustle of their dreams. Let's do this. Hello and welcome to the 308th episode of the Dietitian Side Hustle podcast, Making More Money Ethically with Nicole Wempe. I am so excited to welcome Nicole to the podcast today. Nicole and I recently connected on Instagram, and when we hopped on the Zoom call, apparently we've met in person before. We've had an in-person connection. We were both at a nutrition conference in Tampa, Florida at the end of 2023. So we go way back. So welcome, Nicole, to the podcast. I'd love it if you could tell us more about yourself and how you became passionate about helping dietitians make more money.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Katie. I'm really glad to be here. So I'm a registered dietitian myself. I didn't take the traditional route though. I started my career in food service management. Like I started traditional, then sports nutrition, but somewhere along the way, I just realized that I wanted more. Not just more money, but more fulfillment, more impact, more freedom. It's kind of something we figure out as we get into our career, some of us. And so I went back, I did get my MBA, and that opened a door I really didn't know existed, which was entrepreneurship and sales. So I started selling, it was COVID, and I started selling my own services, building my own practice. And what I discovered was that sales wasn't really just a skill, it was something in dietetics no one ever talks about. And people will probably say, like, I've always been an optimist when it comes to career. I'm always trying to figure out, how can I get what I want? Best of both worlds. Like, I've always believed you shouldn't have to choose between work that lights you up and work that pays you well. But figuring that out, takes risk and pivots, and more trial and error than I'd like to admit. But, I think that as dietitians, we do exceptional work. We're highly educated. We change lives and create measurable financial value in every industry we touch, healthcare, food, sports, corporate, wellness. And it just may not be immediately obvious. So that's really what drives me. I want dietitians to stop waiting to be discovered and start owning the value that they bring, whether it's negotiating better in a current role, stepping into a new industry, or building something of their own. I want them to see what's actually possible because we didn't go through years of school and clinical training to undercharge, burn out, and really wonder if that's all there is.
Absolutely. So you started your journey, became a dietitian, kind of did a little bit of all the things, went back to school, discovered the world of entrepreneurship and sales, which is a wonderful world. And I loved how you said you wanted more fulfillment, impact, and freedom, which I think the more I talk to dietitians, like that's what we want. We just want to help people. We want to have freedom in our lives. And in order to do that, money is a big part of the equation, but it tends to be something that we don't talk about. So my next question for you is what does making more money ethically mean to you? It's on your Instagram. I see it on your content. Making more money ethically seems to be your phrase. So tell us more about what that means to you.
Well, I've had several coaches over the years, which I'll mention, who talked about the importance, like the ethics of selling. Lots of dietitians find, like when I talk to them, they're like, well, I don't want to be slimy or unethical. And so it's a question I love because it gets to something really important. The story so many dietitians have been told about money and sales, when most people hear it, they picture manipulation, pressure tactics,
Yeah.
someone trying to get something from you. And in our profession, especially, there's this deep seated belief that wanting to earn more somehow conflicts with the reason we became dietitians in the first place, which is to help people. But here's the reframe that I want every dietitian to sit with. If you have the expertise to genuinely change someone's health, their performance, their relationship with food, their quality of life, and you let them walk away without offering that help because you're uncomfortable with the conversation about money, that's actually the unethical choice.
Oh,
And I think withholding your skill isn't noble. It's actually doing a disservice to the people who need you. And over the years, multiple business and sales coaches have told me that. And it took a while to internalize it and really, once you're working with somebody who really does need your help and they walk away, the feeling isn't, oh, I lost a sale. It's, oh my gosh, that girl had a problem I really could help her with. And I just gave up because I was too afraid to like push them and help them to see that like they needed to make this change now. So for me, making more money ethically is kind of two things at once. It's obviously about how you earn, honesty, integrity, not over promising, not fear based selling. But it's also about recognizing that your expertise has real, tangible value and that asking to be compensated for that is not greed. It's actually professionalism. So it's the approach that matters, and the value is also real, and both are true at the same time.
Nicole, I'm sitting over here trying not to drop my pen. I'm like, mic drop, mic drop.
No, there's a lot. Oh,
So
I'm
much
so
good
passionate
stuff
about it.
there. Yeah, no, well, we share so much of this passion. And when you said like, there's people out there and they actually need your help and you could help them. And when they walk away, like, gosh, they're losing out because I was too afraid. That's kind of like a punch to the gut and so true. And I know, we have some people in our world that we've passed with things in common. But I remember Javier Carlin once told me, if you have something that could help someone, someone's in pain, they're struggling, and you know that you could help them, you could change their life, then you have a moral obligation to sell to them. And I remember when he said that, it just like it was that punch in the gut. It was the reframe that I needed of like, oh my goodness. And for me, selling has been a journey. And I had a sticky note on my desk for years that said, you better sell. Because when I don't have the skill set to sell, when I am losing the opportunity to help someone connect the dots of how I can help them change their life, then I am doing them a disservice. And as dietitians who want to help people, when we look at it from that perspective, we're like, ah, okay, I better sell. So,
No, it's interesting. I mean, and just to kind of add to the selling piece, like it goes far beyond private practice too. Like
yes.
every industry we work in is a business somehow that has
Mhm.
to get sales, and maybe dietitians aren't at the forefront making those sales and closing deals, but there's people that it's part of the cycle of business. And so whether they're in private practice or not, like it's not even in counseling, like selling a client on, you know adopting these behaviors to give them a particular outcome is like a skill as well. So it's not even just to private practice, it's a part of our practice in our, as clinicians, but also the industries we work in. You just can't avoid it.
100%. Well, I'd love to know your perspective on why you think so many dietitians struggle with money.
Yeah, no, I thought a lot about this one. I mean, I think I struggled with it too, and I think especially as a newer dietitian years ago, kind of when like voicing that I wanted to make more, but being afraid to voice that and having people maybe laugh about it or tell me you shouldn't have picked dietetics. um, so there's a few layers to this, and I think they all reinforce each other. The first is awareness. A lot of dietitians simply don't know what's available to them in terms of like jobs and salary. They graduate, they go into a traditional role that feels like the path because it's the one they were shown. And I do think dietetics programs are getting better at exposing them to other opportunities, apart from the traditional. But nobody usually talks about like the food industry roles, like even sales, right? Or medical device sales, product development, or building a practice that could replace and exceed a hospital salary. And then the second layer is skill. We're trained extensively in nutrition science, medical nutrition therapy, and counseling, but no one teaches us how to negotiate a salary. And again, I know this is getting better. How to sell our services, how to articulate our value to a non clinical employer. Those skills are just absent from our education. And like the third layer is the one that I think is most insidious. It's cultural. Um, Dietitians accept low offers and don't push back when we're talking about job salaries. And when one of us does start advocating for more, raising prices, pursuing higher paying roles, building a business, there's sometimes a subtle judgment or not so subtle judgment from colleagues. This message of we're all in this to help people, not to make money. That narrative keeps people who are talented and hardworking stuck. And really until we start calling out, I think it's going to keep happening. I know that private practice is one way, but I don't think it should be the only way that dietitians can like make the money that they want to make.
Yeah, I think that's huge. The awareness of kind of what's possible, what's out there, but then the skill to actually do it because school taught us to be dietitians, not how to sell, not how to make money. And I like how you even just pulled that into the cultural side of things because people often accept offers because they don't necessarily know how to negotiate. They don't know that they can. And I often think of the fact that so many of us, we go to school for so long, unpaid internship, when we're offered a job, we're like, oh my gosh, someone will actually pay me.
Yeah, yeah,
So we don't have like the even that insight of negotiating. And even if you feel that pull to do it, people often feel like, oh, I don't want to be greedy. I don't want the hiring person to think I'm greedy. And it's like, nah, it's
yeah.
business. We should.
Yes, I know. I know. Yeah. Well, and also just like I try to tell people that they're expecting you to negotiate. Like it's actually an expectation. And if you don't, they kind of go, "Oh, cool." Maybe
Save
or
the
they go,
book.
"Well, why didn't she negotiate?" It may actually reflect not so great on you too if you don't negotiate, is what I've learned from especially in like sales roles, but
Yeah, yeah. I hope everyone heard that.
yes.
It can reflect negatively on you if you don't negotiate, so
Don't
always
negotiate.
negotiate.
Always negotiate. Yes.
I remember when I got my first job way back in 2008, I was working for the VA and I felt so clumsy in how to negotiate, but I just knew I should. Now, I was getting a job within the federal government. There's not a lot of wiggle room for negotiation and pay. But what I was able to negotiate was travel reimbursement, which helped huge because I was traveling across the country. So sometimes negotiation isn't just always more pay. It could be maybe a sign-on bonus, travel
Yep.
pay. It could be a flexible schedule, no weekends, a compressed tour where maybe you're working 410. So there's lots of things we can negotiate. But
PTO.
anyway,
Mhm.
PTO, absolutely.
Mhm.
Even like paying for you to go to conferences or continue education. Yeah, we should negotiate.
For sure.
So, what are some of the biggest opportunities for dietitians to increase their income today?
So I feel like there are more paths than most dietitians realize. I get excited because the possibilities are like really wide open now. Private
Yes.
practice is obviously one of the most powerful. Just because you can remove the insurance middleman entirely and you can, charge based on the transformation that you provide and not just your hours. I have clients making $5,000 or more a month in private practice while still working their full-time jobs. I mean, that's a really powerful, some are using it to invest, some are using it to save, some are, you know, using it to pay for their bachelorette trips, but like it helps. They can use their salary for something else. Industry roles are also massively underutilized. Food and beverage, pharma, medical devices, sports nutrition brands. These companies need our expertise and they are willing to pay for it. Um, Even product development within those industries and also sales roles specifically, which I know can feel uncomfortable, but often they come with base salaries, commissions, bonuses, car allowances. Like I have a car from the company, I get a bonus, six-figure salary base and flexibility that clinical roles just can't match. But I think like if in terms of I think there's a lot more opportunities out there basically and I think that you trying to understand your fiscal impact where you're already in your current role and also like skills that open other doors. So we have that clinical that nutrition, medical nutrition therapy education, but if you can kind of look at other skills that you could learn or have, like it may open doors that you didn't know were possible in industries that you maybe are curious about or interested in that didn't know existed.
Yeah, yeah. Nicole, I don't think we dove into this, but can you maybe share a little bit about what you do in your full-time job?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I work in ingredient sales. So in the supply chain, I'm selling ingredients to food and supplement manufacturers who make their products, sell them to, either other businesses to distribute or restaurants or, you know, end use consumers. And so it's really B2B. So I drive around in my car all day, set up appointments, take customers to lunch. I'm really building relationships, like long-term relationships to be able to have rapport with a company and, in the meantime, like trying to sell them our products and, showing them maybe trends in the market that they aren't aware of. And it's so fun because, I really do like going to lunch or having meetings with these professionals, in these companies. It's my job to prospect, so cold call, manage current customer relationships, and grow business. Very heavy focus on the grow business part. But if you like talking to people and you're very relational, it's actually pretty easy to do. Um, and, people get scared about the metrics of sales, but if you just if you figure out what needs to happen, it's pretty easy to do. It's not so intimidating when you get in there. But it does require some work, but it's fun.
I also think the more we lean into discomfort, the more we continue to grow and the more we become comfortable, and all of a sudden our capacity for discomfort grows. And I love that your job is in sales because you are literally getting paid to learn all of these skill sets and, push yourself and, learn sales and go outside your comfort zone, all these things that also help you in the businesses that you run as well.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
it's a win-win. I love even in my own job, I got so much out of working there, skills that I, brought with me to entrepreneurship. So
for sure. That's
awesome.
awesome.
So what's one piece of advice you'd give a dietitian who feels underpaid or financially stuck?
So, okay. So, first, I think you've got to get clear on your fiscal impact. And this is something that I think the MBA taught me. Like sometimes, and I have friends that just, I think were just more business minded than me working in their clinical settings. But like, when you see how many patients you work with, or you look at patient readmittance, statistics, like I think that our services are directly tied to those. And if you can kind of get in there and figure out how, like what your impact is, in sales, it can be pretty easy. Like you look at your territory, how much you're selling, how much growth you've had. That gives you a direct number to negotiate. But it's also in like in like hospital and clinic based settings as well. Um, so not just what you do, but also what it's worth, like what's hitting the bottom line based on what we're offering to outpatient or inpatient services. Second is just start investing in complementary skills. Sales really changed my career and it's changed my clients' careers too, the business dietitians I work with. And negotiation's a skill you can learn, and so is sales. It's not like an inherent, you're born with it or you're not. I've seen very introverted people do sales, very outgoing people do sales, very professional, organized, very scatterbrained, disorganized, do really well. Like all like anybody could do sales. It's a skill. Um, and then also like third, stop waiting for permission. Um, if your current role isn't valuing you, advocate loudly, start exploring what else is out there, and look beyond your credentials because
Yes.
I've applied to positions that don't ask for an RD, but in my interview, when they're like, "What separates you?" I love to lean on the RD, and I think it's helped me get roles in specific, especially food sales or supplement sales, like that they don't really know how it impacts your role. And so then the other thing is just like not sometimes it's your skills, your interests, your curiosity, your experiences, but also talking to dietitians in other industries, investing in mentorship and coaching. Um, I would just say that, stop limiting yourself to the lane that you were trained in and start seeing the full picture of what you bring to the table. Even if it's something you've never done or just are interested in, like go do it and go call the dietitian in that role or go talk to the salesperson in that role. Learn what it's about, see what you bring to the table.
Love everything that you're saying there, Nicole. I was writing down like anybody can do sales. It's a skill you can learn. And I think so many dietitians who struggle with perfectionism think like I have to be perfect before I get started. It's something that you learn by doing, and everyone listening is more than capable. I also loved how you're talking about looking outside of the credential and stop limiting yourself to the lane you were trained in. That is huge. There are so many more opportunities out there than I think we realize. I think for me, as I dabbled in entrepreneurship, I'm like, oh, it's possible. But even within traditional jobs, there are so many opportunities and so many things you could do. So I loved all those ideas that you shared, and I hope that everyone's brains are like spinning with
Oh,
ideas.
yeah. I don't know if any listeners went to like Fincy this year, but I mean, and I hope I get this accurate. The chief science officer of like Weight Watchers is a dietitian with a PhD. I work with a dietitian in R&D who has her PhD for a beverage company, and she's making close to 200,000 a year. Um, and I was like, oh, I never even thought of being like, she's not a food scientist. She's an RD working in food science, because it's also nutrition related. And so, yeah, it's just amazing what's out there. It can be sales, it can be PR, it can just go deeper, supply chain management. I mean, it's just kind of wild the opportunities that exist.
And first step is awareness of what's
Yep.
possible out there.
Yes.
So, Nicole, I am so grateful that you came on the podcast today. I love this discussion. I love talking about money. I love pulling in the ethics piece of selling. And I hope that as people listen to this episode, it just, things started to click for them of like, oh, yeah, I can do this. There are so many possibilities. And they just start diving into what's possible. So, I'd love it if you could share with us where listeners can connect with you and learn more about the work that you do.
Yeah, come find me on Instagram. Obviously, that's where I show up, share what I'm learning, talk about all things dietitian, entrepreneurship, and earning more. And if today's conversation was interesting to you and you're a dietitian thinking about starting your own business or practice, you've got Katie to also reach out to. But I do have a free school community, that is just kind of has a course to kind of test your readiness to decide and get honest about where you are and what your next move might be. Plus, a whole community of other dietitian entrepreneurs who are building real businesses and sharing what's working.
Awesome. And where can they find that community?
That is a link in my bio on Instagram. And it is called, if you go to school, SKOOL.com, and you look up clinician two, the number two, closer. That is the name of the group.
Clinician to closer on school.com. I
Hmm.
wrote down skill,
That's
school.com,
okay.
and
Cool.
then follow Nicole on Instagram, and we'll include all
Yes.
this in the link in bio. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Wasn't this a fun episode? Y'all know how much I love to talk about money, empowering dietitians, and it's just been such a joy to meet Nicole and see the work that she's doing to help other dietitians. So I hope that you guys got so much out of that episode, things to chew on, things to think about, things that hopefully inspire you to make more money ethically. Now, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you want to learn more about all the ways we could work together, head on over to katiedodd.com. And something fun that I am running right now. My birthday happens to be next week. And in celebrating my birthday, I am running a 50% off special on my Blogging Accelerator program community. Now, the price of this program did go up after my beta launch last year, and I wasn't planning to bring back founder prices. But when I was thinking of how to celebrate not just my birthday, but also my birthday, June 29th, is also the birthday of the geriatric dietitian. It's like, man, we got to celebrate not just my birthday, but the birthday of my blog. And when I look back on my journey and how much my own brand has grown, it started with being in the right community with the right people, getting the right guidance, having, a coach that could, help me when I got stuck. So I just felt really called of, you know what? I'm going to bring back founders pricing between now and my birthday, June 29th. If you're on my email list, I'm going to send out emails about it, but go to katiedodd.com. You'll see the link there. There is a coupon code. I should know it off the top of my head, which I am not prepared. Give me 1 second. Oh golly. I'm just gonna type in katiedodd.com and I have it on there. So the coupon code is birthday, and that'll take 50% off. It is a monthly membership. You can cancel anytime if you just want to get in, play around with the membership, or we still have spots left for lifetime membership. And it's 50% off lifetime membership. Honestly, is a steal of a deal. So head on over there to learn more and take advantage of this sale while it lasts. Founders pricing's back. So until June 29th of 2026, if you're listening to this later. So thanks so much for being here, guys, and I'll see you next week on the podcast.